So welcome, Ethan. How are you? How are you feeling?
Feeling good. A bit tired.
Me too. Working this out, how this works. It's kind of crazy, but my first podcast, eh?
Yep. Pleasure to be your first guest, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Today we're gonna talk about a lot of fun. A lot of fun, eh?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
Feel tired. Feel tired.
Okay.
Fatigued.
Okay. So I want to start talking about the incident we had before we came here.
Oh yeah.
So tell me about that.
So I had before I had a nosebleed. Before all this, we had a nosebleed, and it started early in the day. So, like 3 p.m. We were calling, and on the topic of having a podcast, I got a little nosebleed. It was a little one. But then, we went to Flying Squirrel. We had all this fun stuff with our youth group. And we came home. We had like Afghanistan dinner. It was delicious. And then, on the topic of doing a podcast right now, again, I just have one of the worst nosebleeds I've ever had in my life. Yeah, I think it went on for 30 minutes at least.
Yeah, for like a solid 15 minutes. Yeah, you were gonna take a shower, but then you didn't.
Yeah,
Right?
and then before all that, you guys pray for me.
Yeah, we
You
did.
guys turned on the shower. You left the room, and then I didn't take a shower. Instead of taking a shower, all I did was pray, and right after that, yeah, my nosebleed stopped. So now we're here. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's good. It's honestly, I think it's a lot of people could argue many different points, correct?
Yeah.
Like I see the logic behind it, which people could just be like, "Oh, coincidence," right? I have a lot of friends that think like that, and then there's people who go even beyond where I would go, which is, oh, it's like fully 100% God and fully 100% the devil.
Yeah. Fully 100% spiritual. That's what I believe.
And honestly, I think it's very interesting how perspective can have such a big change and difference in like our lives. For example, well, if you look at Jesus, if you look at what he was talking about, he was saying, if you believe, then it'll happen, right? And sometimes we Christians, we struggle with that, not in the terms of whether Jesus died or not, but more in the smaller areas. For example, some people don't believe in tongues, and because of that, they never speak tongues. Some people do believe in tongues, and because of that, they do speak tongues, right? But it's the power of belief, right? So where I was getting to this is, I really like that story because it really shows how the devil can try and stop things. However coincidental it could be, I think personally, my personal belief, as I'm sure it's yours, is that it was some sort of evil
Yeah.
that was trying to stop us from doing this podcast, and there was some sort of good that after we prayed, the podcast continued and you stopped bleeding, right?
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts?
It's a good icebreaker.
Definitely not because it was in the notes. So after that, I want to talk about your testimony.
Oh yeah.
That's why I brought you
My
here.
full testimony?
Well, yeah, I wanted the viewers to. I know your story. A lot of people would correlate with it, and I want you to sort of express it because, if only one person sees this and they turn to Christ because of it, that makes me a happy man.
All right, buckle up. So, I guess this was I actually want to say a year and a half ago. I think this was last year, September maybe. September, August. And, I can say definitely it was the lowest point of my life. I don't know, I didn't really have anyone to really talk to, I didn't really have anyone to really talk to about my problems. But the stigma of like the only person people I could talk to is my parents, but I just had so much stigma around the whole conversation. So
What's stigma?
stigma is like you don't want to like tell people what you're really feeling because you're scared of how they would react.
What were you scared of?
I was scared of like, I don't know, just like something. Alright, I can't put my finger on it because it's been so long. But so there was one night, it was at my grandma's house, and like rock bottom, and I can confidently say like I did not have the discipline to go on runs. I did not have the discipline to go to the gym. So, the only thing I could really do is just sit there and just pray. You know what I'm saying? Like pray to a God, specifically Jesus, because that's really the only God I knew of. So I just prayed to Jesus. And I prayed in my head. Keep in mind, I prayed in my head. And then I went on my phone, and then I just went over TikTok. It was probably like 11 p.m. or something on school night. And just scroll down. And there was a TikTok about Jesus and who he was, who the Holy Spirit was, how he works, Jesus' life, and saying like, go read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So I didn't read the Gospels, but I looked into Jesus. I started praying more. I guess like I had a prayer life, but I didn't have a reading life. So days go on, and because I feel like I had a prayer life and not a reading life, I didn't 100% know God. And then that caused me to go after the world. Because now I'm feeling happy. Now I'm going to go after the world.
When you say prayer life and not reading life, could you elaborate on that?
Part of it was praying, God, can you do this for me? God, can you give me this girl? God, can you do that? God, can you give me I don't know, something? I'm looking at God as someone who can give me stuff other than someone who can help me through stuff. So, that goes around. I don't really, I'm not seeing God give me all the stuff I'm praying for, obviously, and I'm never opening my Bible. So, I go chase after the world because I'm in a happier place. And when I do that, I get into an even worse place where I was before. And what that looked like was now I was going to the trailer almost every weekend, drinking, so we couldn't anymore. No, it looked like a lot of basketball games too. Listening to pretty bad music on the soul. And then my friend confronts me about God. He says, oh yeah, you've talked about God before. And then he obviously asks the questions where it's meant to make you the questions oh, if God is loving, why does he send everyone to hell?
It's those questions that are meant to test you and that push you away from God, you mean?
Yeah. So when I was hit with those questions, I didn't think, oh, maybe God isn't real. Because, going back, I had a really real experience with Jesus back there. So I was like, man, God, Jesus has to be real. So when they were attacking me.
When you said you had a really real experience, when was that? When your grandmother was, when you were with your grandmother?
No, it was it was in that same room. You know what I'm saying? I'm scrolling through TikTok. Keep in mind, it was in my head. I was praying. So, people say, oh, yeah, your phones can pick up whatever you're talking about or what.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was in my head. And also, that feeling where you feel a cold chill. It's you're in the presence of God.
Yeah.
I was overfilled with that. And, as soon as I felt that, I'm like, that's Jesus right there. So, that's my meeting Jesus experience. And then going back on the guy testing me with these questions, I didn't look at him and say, yeah, you're right, God isn't real. I said, God, I know nothing. Help me learn more about you. And then I reached out to you, which was beautiful. He was in a bad place. I was in a bad place. And we helped each other get out through youth group, And, I started back in my prayer life. I started reading my Bible officially. And I started going to church sermons, just learning more about God. And so that's really. And then we can say my baptism.
Okay, wait.
want my full?
Before you continue,
Yeah.
I really want to talk about my side, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I
don't think I've heard of this.
I remember that day. I remember I was pretty low. Not in like my lowest moment or anything of the sort, but it was more of I'm working really hard in those moments, trying to get better, trying to become better, running, going to the gym, all that stuff. And it almost seems like there's something still missing, right? And there was something still missing in my heart and in my soul. And then I was trying to look for it. So I was like, I would go to the gym and then run, and then I would go to social media and TikTok, and I just like keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then just do nothing with my life. I would swear I would do all that stuff because although the gym and the running and all that stuff really did improve my life and it really did help me sort of at least work for a purpose and to a degree be distracted by what I was missing, because I believe that that was the thing. That was the thing I was missing. The working, the self-improvement, the I'm going to become better, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that sort of situation. So I was in that moment of just running and gym and then scrolling, like doing nothing with my life, playing video games, all that stuff. And I had a really low moment in that time because what I would do is I would go high and low, high and low, high and low. There would be times where I would like literally watch TikTok a whole night until like 4 a.m. And then the next day or next couple of days, I'd be like, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore because I gotta run and I'm gonna like blah, 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 I'm gonna do this. And then there'll be like maybe a week of like running and going to the gym every single day sort of situation. And then it would be a repeat of cycle, just repeating. And he caught me in one of those cycles. He caught me in one of those. And it was really interesting because when he texted me, I remember you sent me a paragraph asking me that I was one of the only guys that he knew that were Christian.
Yeah.
And that you wanted to learn more about Jesus. And I was like, I remember thinking in my head that I wasn't worthy of teaching you. I was like, it's incredible how God works, because you sent me that text and I was like, that's so ironic. That is so funny. Because here I am, like, suffering because of my lack of God, which I was so earnestly trying to seek, but I was seeking in the wrong areas. And then here you are asking me for guidance. And believe it or not, through that process of guiding you, I actually learned a lot more than I would have just by myself. So you sometimes say that I helped you, but you helped me as well, like you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was an incredible journey because I taught you what I knew. I taught you about self-improvement and how my story with God was at the moment. And I just could sort of like slowly see the change of me, what I would say to you and what I talk to you about and what I would do and then not do and stuff like that. And it got to a point where now even you're like, I tell you something, you're like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so cool, because it's like back in the day you were like,
I was like listening, like super like in focus, try to like.
But the thing about it is that at the end of the day, I don't know the answers to everything, right? Socrates had a motto or a phrase or a saying, and it was, know that you know nothing, right? So it's like, it was pretty cool how he reached out to me, and I just wanted to say thank you, actually, because that helped me more than it, or like equally as much as it helped you. And look at us now doing a podcast.
Yeah, I just want to say that like God's timing is just absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
like
it was crazy because you said you knew another kid that was Christian, right?
It was Danny
Danny,
from our school. I didn't like, you were the only like, cause like we had history class.
Yeah, and that's the only time I talked to you.
Yeah, that's the only time I knew you. Like, and so yeah. And then you had the profile picture.
Yeah.
And then you came to school wearing that sweater right there. Jesus is king, and that's like, oh yeah, he's Christian. So
Yeah, it's crazy how God's timing works, but it wouldn't have worked out more perfectly.
yes.
And then I brought you to church, and then you got baptized before me.
Yeah.
Still hate you for that. No.
You want to hear about the baptism?
Oh
Did I
yeah.
ever tell you?
No, tell me.
No. Okay. Oh yeah, I did. Youth group. No.
You told me a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Just like there's also this one girl that came up and told me like about my baptism, and I just want to start off to say like no baptism is the same.
Of course.
No one's gonna have like the same thing. Jesus will make it perfect for you. What you want. Jesus will make it perfect for you. But what happened to me was it was you have those periods where it's just like so low on like like you're reading like half of what you usually read in your Bible, and your prayer game is not the greatest.
Yes.
And it was in one of those times, and then everyone's just like get baptized. Like everything around me was get baptized. So last second, I went to our youth leader.
Yeah.
Name's John. Our youth leader, and he signed me up last second. So, and I was dead last going in, and then I went into the water, and it's like, I think I saw like I had a little vision, but it was like in black and white and was like outlined, like how you close your eyes and you got like all that, and it came down and just touched me. And when it touched me, I felt like all like I guess the laziness, like all the chains holding me back, just like disappeared. And then from there, for like a whole month straight, I was just on fire. Like I don't know, I read like double as what I usually read, and I was like be praying like before I do absolutely everything. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to see how my baptism story would go. No, but I think it's a very cool story just because there's a lot of people that get baptized
Mhm.
and they don't feel anything.
Mhm.
And I want to talk about that a little bit because it was a great story.
Can I say something?
Okay.
I don't want anyone to like misinterpret that a baptism is strictly for you. I feel like a baptism is for Jesus. It's a like proclamation of your faith to Jesus. So I don't know. I have like some people say that nothing happens, but it's like I don't know. I would pray beforehand, and I would be like, if nothing happens, that's fine, because this is at the end of the day, it's for you. It's nothing should be given to me because one, I don't deserve it, and it should all be for you. I'm getting baptized in your name, so
Yeah, that's actually what I was gonna say because I think even me, a lot of people, a lot of us Christians, we sort of base our life on feelings, on I feel God, and when I don't feel God, like what's going on? Like, did you leave me? You know what I mean?
yeah, I've had those times.
I've had those moments too, and I want to talk about that. One of the stories for me was there was a moment where I just didn't feel God, and I remember texting you like, "Oh, right now, I'm not too like spiritually well right now. Like spiritually, like I'm just in this battle of like God, where are you? You say you want me. You say you want to talk to me. You say you want to be in my presence, Lord, and I want you. I seek you. I read my Bible. I pray to you, but I don't see you. I can't hear you." And I got really pissed at God because I didn't understand. I didn't understand that that requires patience and that that's what love is, right? And that just because I don't feel something, it doesn't mean that he's not there. Because at the end of the day, we're humans. We can't see everything that God can, right? But I just feel like I think that feelings can be so deceiving that that's one of the reasons why so many people aren't Christians anymore. And I was talking to somebody today actually who in that we went to like that flying squirrel thing.
Oh yeah, is that one of the workers?
Yeah, one of the workers, and he's like, I just don't feel God. I never felt God, and that's what drives so many people away. And obviously, there's gonna be times where you feel Him, where when you seek Him, you will find Him, and that's what I told him. Because when you do seek him, you will find him. Because at the end of the day, he did answer me. And I want to get to that later. But sometimes we have to do things even though we don't feel it. We have to believe in them even though we don't feel. When Jesus was on that cross, I talk about this a lot. There's a verse, I forget I think it's Philippians or something. And it's, God made him who knew no sin for us, so that we may be living in his righteousness. And it's such a beautiful verse, because if we look at Jesus on that cross, he was suffering like immensely. He got crucified at around 9 a.m. I think it's said in the Bible when I read it in Acts, and he died like 6 hours later, like at 3. So that's a 6-hour crucifixion. And in that moment, it says that Jesus wasn't only suffering physically, he was suffering spiritually. And that's why there was a moment in time where Jesus calls out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me, right? And it's so powerful, because I know in that moment, all he was feeling was the guilt, the sin, the conviction, the judgment on every single one of our sins. In that moment, everything that Jesus was feeling was the opposite of love. He was feeling pain. He was feeling desperation. He was feeling every single negative emotion in the spectrum. He was literally had holes in his hands, holes in his feet. He just got beat. He just got like whipped. He had a crown of thorns, and he was suffering spiritually. And then we have like the guts, the guts to say, God, why don't I feel love 24/7?
Mm-hmm. Also, I wanted to add on that. Jesus, when you said like he was experiencing everything the opposite of love, but he still showed people love. Like when he was on that cross, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know." An act of love, forgiveness. So,
and that's where I want to go through, because sometimes we have to do things even though we don't feel.
Yeah.
Right? We have to show love even though we don't feel. And those are the 2 greatest commandments Jesus talks about. Love your neighbor, love your God, and then love your neighbor, correct?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that as Christians, if anybody here is watching and they want to get something off of this, is I think sometimes we focus so much on what we feel that we lose track on who God really is.
Mm-hmm.
And his power, his perfect timing, and we're like little kids and we lose our patience.
Mm-hmm.
Because going back to my story of, God, where are you? God, why don't you talk to me? Why are you doing this to me? I tried to look for him, but I couldn't find him. And then I went to this one youth group, and everything was answered, and it was answered in such an intricate, just weird, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Like you go in, and it's just like the message is just like right at you.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, and it was right at me, and literally like it answered all my questions. I was like, damn, that's kind of cool. Like I can have some peace. But there was still like this little spark missing of like God telling me like, yo, I'm listening to you. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like I can like survive. I'll like keep going, whatever. But I still had like that little like God, if you want to talk to me, then talk to me, right? You died for me. If you died for me, talk to me, right? And then they were like praying over people, and they were healing people. For those of you who believe in healing, that's another topic. And then I went up. I didn't have anything to be healed. I just had my inner conflictions.
Is that one day where the guy's arm got healed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I talked to this one guy. His name was David as well, and he's like, yo, what do you want? Like, how are you feeling? What do you need? I was like, dude, honestly, like, I'm just so lost, because everything I knew to be true was so wrong, and then now I'm trying this new way, but I don't even feel anything. Like, God isn't even answering. He's not even speaking to me. So why would I? Does he even care? Why would he care about me?
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense if he didn't care, right? Because I'm worthless. You know what I mean? Like, everything that I've done, I don't deserve God. But then all these thoughts were in my mind, 24/7. It's like, that's how I was like, yo, I need God. I need him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and then he prayed for me, and then after that prayer, like, I just felt so much better. I was like, I just feel like it's just gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right. and then I see this guy with like a broken
It was collarbone, right?
collarbone. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was
yeah,
collarbone.
it was a collarbone. So he had like the little like arm thingy, and then I just had the thought in my head that's like he's gonna be healed. It's like I was like, and then I was like watch him be healed after. I was like yeah, sure, buddy. Like he's gonna like, you know what I mean? I was like, what if he gets healed right now? Like, and then I'm like, just sit down, whatever, reading my book, and then I look at him, and then he's moving his like arm like normally after like people pray for him,
Yeah.
and I was like, what just happened? Like, what did I just like see? And then I went crazy. I was like, what is going on? Did he just get healed? Like, how did that happen? And everybody was just like, oh, that's normal. And I'm just like, what?
I even said, man, that's just Jesus, man.
Yeah, like
He does this like on the daily. It's fine.
I was like, bro, like, are you kidding me? Like, this is normal behaviors. I called all my friends. I was like, yo, this just happened, guys. Jesus really is real, guys. Please come to Christianity and to my Christians friends. I was like, I knew it. I told you guys, God is real. Seek him more. Look for him more. And in a weird way, he didn't heal me
He
physically.
used your faith.
Yeah, he healed my faith.
Yeah.
And he did that through that guy. I just feel like the Holy Spirit, just like how he was there for him, I knew that it was like an answer of God telling me, just like how I'm there for you, for him, I'm going to be there for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to heal you too, and I'm going to be there through that storm with you. And then I was on fire. I was like, dude, what's going on here? Like, I was still reading my Bible, but I would just be more addicted.
Yeah.
Like, I just like, whenever I was bored, I was like, let's just read the Bible, and then read, and that was really cool for me. So that's my story.
That's a beautiful story, David.
Yeah, thank you. And I just feel like I really hope and pray that people get something out of this, and something out of what you said. You have any questions you want to talk about?
No, but I do have something to add. So, because I feel like my introduction to Christianity was very like, you know, how I felt God's like chills and all that. Whenever I stopped feeling those chills, back to like what I was doing before, you know what I'm saying, back into the world, back doing that. And so I feel like it's just like a test of faith whenever he steps back. And yeah, and like God's perfect timing, like right there, like he steps back in. You know, I feel like God would never like desert you like that, you know, but he will test you. So yeah, that's all I gotta add.
Why do you think he tests us?
I feel like tests us really like understand like who actually believes him, because like people say they are Christian. Some people put in the work. Some people put in the work when they feel God, and like to understand that, you know. Also, like, I guess it's also, like, put down our pride. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we're with God, we feel powerful, feel like all of that. But when we're not with God, feel weak. And, like, I don't want to do anything with you. So. And also, like, I had a whole bunch, like, on that topic. I had a whole bunch of, like, talks with John. One, like, whole, like, I think it was the first time I came to church, actually. It was about that. When we feel God. So yeah, it's just my story with.
So you said you used to go to trailers and drink a lot.
Yes.
And get really drunk, eh?
Yes.
How is that? How did it feel? How does it feel to be drunk?
So bad. Yeah. Think about it. I recently started saying it's like you can thrive during, but strive the consequences. Or you can strive during and thrive the consequences, and that's what drinking was. And like, you know, obviously you wake up with a hangover, but you also have like, go to school with like I feel like it heightens your anxiety, you know, and like and then it's like an addiction. It starts to be an addiction. Like, oh, the only thing to get this away is to drink. So you also can do that too, and yeah, it's just bad. Like you just act like a complete fool, like I don't know, and then because of that, you act like a complete fool. It's like you start to like judge people unfairly, and you start to sin. So that's against God. I feel like we live in a super spiritual world, and alcohol takes down our shield against Satan. Like like we like volunteer to be put in this situation.
It's an open door.
Yeah, and Satan takes that and he takes advantage of you and he starts putting you against God.
So what would you say to the kid who's watching this, if they are? Please watch this. What would you say to that kid who's drinking right now, who has an addiction, but feels what you felt of that emptiness, of that, the consequences, and they don't know what to do with their life, man. Maybe they have some issues behind at home, and they just want to look for the truth.
Mm-hmm. So
how would you help them overcome?
Alcohol could also be used as something to fill that void. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11, it makes it very clear that we all have eternity in our hearts. All right? And in John 4:13 to 14, Jesus is talking to the Samaritan woman on the well, and Jesus says, that water will make you thirsty again, but my water will not. Yeah. So that Jesus is the eternity, that the hole in your heart that you're trying to fill, because that hole in your heart is meant for Jesus. He's the only one who can do it.
And why is that?
Because he's the God of the universe, because he's eternal.
Because he's the infinite of infinites. He's the Alpha and the Omega.
The beginning and the end.
First and last.
Yeah. So, man, like Jesus, like he also like having a more like a better relationship with him, like cured my anxiety. I just want to ask a question about you. It's like I would say like if I would talk for David doesn't think depression is real from the things I've heard, but I do definitely believe depression is real. But depression only happens by the things you consume. So like Jesus gave me this happiness, and now I'm only consuming happiness, and now I'm happy. So Jesus cured my depression. Jesus cured my anxiety, and yeah, he just made me like on fire for him.
So this is my rebuttal. This is what I would say. Like I was saying before, us humans, we tend to go off base of how we feel many times, and that could be a good thing, but it could also be a negative thing. And in this world nowadays, how everybody thinks they have ADHD, ADD, depression, anxiety, and they're just all self-diagnosed that because I have this, I can't do anything anymore, or I'm useless, or all I can do is sit on a couch and play video games. I think it's the devil. I do think it's satanic, that mentality on how we can identify ourselves in such a negative way without realizing that by doing so, you become that. So I say I'm depressed. I start to develop depression symptoms. I start to become sad, not want to do anything. The Bible says, what a man thinketh, so is he. So what you will think, you are that. Right? Mm-hmm. So the reason I say that depression is not real is not because clinically there's a disease or a mental state called depression, and there isn't a mental state called anxiety. I'm not rebuttaling that, but I am rebuttaling my personal belief. Because I think that if I think that depression is not real, then how could I ever become depressed? It's just not a thing. Same thing. It's just about faith. It truly is about faith, because Jesus says, if we had faith the size of a mustard seed, we could be able to say to a mountain to move, and it would do so. Yeah. That's belief, right? Faith is believing without seeing. So if I believe that something like depression isn't real, even though even I felt those depressive like feelings, even if I felt that after that, and I say that, then I could never become depressed again. This isn't me on validating people, even though I think a lot of people should be. But I am saying that for me, it's just a better life believing in something that everybody tells you it's wrong, even like science proving it's wrong. Mm-hmm. Because it becomes my reality.
Yeah, so I personally believe that like you are what you consume. If you're consuming depressive material, like I see so many like people consuming this music like Billie Eilish, that's super depressing. Frank Ocean, super depressing. Like, and then, they're depressed. And it's like, maybe it's this. Maybe you're just feeding your mind so many negative things. And that was me. I was feeding my mind a lot of negative things, especially on TikTok. Like I think it had, like the real trend, like the real trend. That was like my entire For You page at one point. Like
Which one?
so like it's like core. It's like core. It would be like this super sad song with this super like hard like guitar solo, and it would just be like slideshows, and you scroll down and just be about depression and how they want to like unalive themselves.
Yeah.
Like I was like that was my entire For You page at one point. So and then like yeah, that's probably why I was depressed. And like through reading like I guess my Bible after was like when Jesus saved me from like depression, it was through like deleting TikTok, deleting Instagram, deleting all this and feeding something positive to my mind. The Bible. We have good news. We are saved. You know. Seeing success in other things through Jesus. Praise be to be his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean, and I do think that social media is not really good for many of us, if not all of us, and that there's very few uses for it. That's why, even I watch social media sometimes. I have to admit it. I watch Instagram. Anything else, I delete. TikTok, I don't use. Blah blah blah. I use Snapchat to text my friends. I don't really do streaks and stuff like that.
Yeah, people like to say, like here with Snapchat, I found the reason why I deleted Snapchat too is that I found myself waking up instantly grabbing my phone, checking my streaks.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why I never believed in streaks.
So bad, man. And I just deleted it. And it took so long to delete it too, because like, oh, I don't want to end the streak with this person, this person, this person. So it was like hard.
Yeah.
Just ended up doing it. And like, now I wake up with like, without anxiety that my streak is about to end. And it makes like waking up a lot more peaceful.
Yeah, and I think so too. I never did streaks because of that, because I could see how it's just like a attention grabber.
Yeah.
You're like, I need to do my streaks. I need to do my streaks. Blah.
And like through the end of the days, I'll be doing schoolwork or I'd be reading my Bible and I'd be like in the zone, and like I would just have this random thought: did I do my streaks? And it would just throw it all away, and it was just like it's bad for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that phones in general are really bad for you, and that we should definitely learn. I need to learn as well a way to control that, but because we don't want to idolize it.
That's true.
We don't want to idolize our phone.
I've been like thinking like, what if I just like throw this out the window right now?
Yeah, honestly, I might just get a flip phone just for calls. Hey guys.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I agree. I think it's weird how we use phones, but I don't really have a response on how to solve it right now.
I don't know.
I try to do like great.
I just delete everything. I use my phone for like the most productive way I can. Like just messages, calls to my mom, and whatnot. Like sometimes I do go on there and just like I even have YouTube deleted because like YouTube Shorts and whatnot. It was just like TikTok. Like it would just grab your attention. You'd be scrolling for hours, and then like I deleted YouTube because of that. But then I'll still go on to like Safari and search up YouTube and watch like YouTube videos on that. So yeah, I think the phone is really bad for you.
I think that you hit a really good point, and I just want to end with this because I don't want to make this video too long. But sometimes we tend to like do stuff like delete YouTube or delete Instagram, but then we go in Safari and search up YouTube.
Yeah.
So like I think a lot of us do this of like we block this, we block that, but then there's moments where we just don't care. And even I'm guilty of it too. There used to be times where I'm like, I don't play video games, and then I'd like download a game for like a minute or two and then delete it again.
That's exactly me with Fortnite.
Exactly.
I said this, man, like I quit Fortnite. If you don't know me, I was a bit of a competitive Fortnite guru. Yeah, like I would play that game like 6 hours a day. It was crazy. And then I deleted it. I didn't really delete it, but I stopped playing it. And then like even then I would just go into like a creative hobby and just like practice my builds, chill, listen to music and whatnot. Like I'll still do that.
Yeah, for me it's like we have to get to a point that it's more identity than trying to stop something. Because sometimes we can look at the sin or the thing that we do and we're not supposed to do, and we just look at that. and we say we can't do this, we can't do that, stop doing this, stop doing that. But then that's all we think about. It's all we think about.
Yeah.
Stop playing video games, video games, video games, video games, video games. And it's like the brain cannot handle the negative. I always say that to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Don't think of an elephant.
Hey, I just thought of an element. Like,
exactly. And it's like, I think sometimes we focus so much on the sin and so much on the thing that we're not supposed to do that we tend to forget on the solution. But for at least me and my swearing journey, I stopped swearing.
mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because I said I need to stop swearing, I need to stop swearing. It was because I got so into God, so into His, like, what He was, and I wanted to look for Him, that it just sort of like fell off.
Yeah.
Because I used to say, I cannot talk without swearing. That's how I express myself.
Yeah.
It's my form of expressing. And I used to not want to stop because that was my excuse. I would just excuse myself until I realized that that's not how Jesus would speak, and that's not how I would want other people to think, to see me, if I said I was a Christian. So I stopped, but not by saying stop swearing, stop swearing, stop swearing, or let me delete this video and let me delete that, so that I just never do it again. But then you catch me doing it again.
Yeah.
Right? You catch me watching YouTube again. So I think even for you and for me too, sometimes I do that. It's instead of looking at the not doing it and deleting it or whatever. Not saying you shouldn't, but we need to focus more on the Jesus, God, on the identity part.
Yeah.
Who am I? I'm a child of God.
Yeah.
And a child of God doesn't do that stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And yeah.
If I were to add one thing too, like, sin is so, like, swearing, other addictions, like, you don't break out of, like, an addiction by just don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. The topic of it's sin. The way you break out of addiction of sin is focusing on Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, like, trying to grow your relationship on Jesus. And then, yeah, you're right, gradually it just falls off. So.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It was a good podcast.
Right. Thank you for having me for my first podcast and David's first podcast.
Let me see what you guys think. Tell me what I should fix in the comments. My maybe the pace too slow a little bit. But yeah, thanks for watching.